Hey everybody, this is Denis Crowley, joined today by Michael Reeves. We're going to do a season preview of the Strat Fan Forum Draft League, or SFFDL. This is the league that Mark Long is the commissioner. He's a paper commissioner though, because it's really three of us or four of us that kind of make up some kind of conglomeration here. It's myself, Mike Stuckey, Tyke Wright, aka Derby Guy, and Mark Long. But we let Mark take the lead in taking the credit for being the commissioner. But a lot of us do a lot of the work. Mike does the league file. I've run it when Mike was out of the league, and I take care of the website. Mike takes care of the website now he's doing a fabulous job of bringing back some of our history and building the archives of the past. Michael, of course, is one of our new league members, but he is very excited, very enthusiastic about Strat football. So why don't you say hello, Michael?
Denis, thank you for letting me join you. Ordinarily, you are accompanied by the fabled Tom Cook. And if you have stumbled over this broadcast, no, I am not the fabled Tom Cook. We won't be talking about the Jets just that much. But I'm really thrilled to have the chance to work not only with Denis, who helped me early on in my Strat career, and Tom did as well. And it's your all's videos that basically got me into the game. And if you've stumbled over this video, hopefully you'll show some interest in this as well. It's an exciting game and a great tight-knit community, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
All right. So we're going to go through. Now, when I do these shows with Tom, I don't know how this happens, but my goodness, we wind up spending 3 hours at least when we do a season preview. And I get the ratings disc. It's exciting to go over the ratings and talk about things. But I want to see if we can do a lean, mean fighting machine version of the season preview. See if we can get done with this. This is our website, www.michaelstuckey.com/SFFDL. Mark here, as you see, is the commissioner. We have a section here for, this is going to be mostly watched by our league members. But there's a section here for archives where you can go back. Mike's been building this up. You click on archives. This is the year of the card set. So last year's version is 2014 card set. You can check out the directory to see who was in the league. You can check out the standings to see how everybody finished. We'll probably reference that a little bit. You can look at the stats to see, who were the league leaders from the 2014 card set. Who had the most passing attempts. Randy Leeper, Joe Flacco had 834 pass attempts. Poor Joe. No wonder his arm is like dragging a little bit to the right because it's so heavy with muscle usage. Here's our standings from last year. So we'll go through the teams a little bit. We're going to go look at the league disc for this year. We already played 1 week. The week 2 files are out, so we're a little bit behind in this, but Michael wanted to do a preview, and I want to help him out. But let's see what we can do this in as fast a time as possible. We may not go through every single player on your roster, but we'll highlight some of the strong points and weak points that make your team what it is. Does that make sense, Michael?
That sounds great, Denis. Again, thank you for having me along. This will be a lot of fun.
And I may have to jump out at some point. This is going to be on Michael's. He'll share out the YouTube link later. And then, subscribe to his channel, because I think Mike's thinking about doing some of his own shows and starting to produce some content. And, that's the old Vidal Sassoon shampoo commercial. You tell 2 friends, and then they tell 2 friends. Mm-hmm. Pretty soon we'll have 30 or 40 people doing their own Strat football shows. So that's the goal anyway. So
all the exposure we can have counts. The NFL.com article that you guys had was absolutely terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. The more new players we attract, the better. So
absolutely. So
let's. Where do you want to start, Michael?
I don't know. How about we start up there in the AFC East?
Okay. So we got we have these team names. I told Mike I don't know. At some point, I think it was Jason Goldberg, the previous commissioner. He would name the conferences based on a player name. So the AFC East is the AFC Walter Payton division. That drives me nuts. I think we should just change this to AFC East. So hopefully Mike will do that in the standings at some point. But the AFC East, so this is Chandler, Furton, Omaha, and St. Paul. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's go over to our current league directory. Let me open up a new window here. So I know these coaches. I can tell you who they are, but it'd be nice to look at their little, their little icons. There we go. So the league directory, AFC East, Otters. So this is Tyke's team, aka Dirty Guy on the forum. So do you want to start with his team? Going after, I thought at one point I had an alpha order, but obviously not. Or should we start with Chandler? Fuko's team.
You know, either way is fine. If you like to go in the order that it's on the website, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, so let's go with Furden. So let's pull them up in the league rosters. So I know Tyke made quite a few trades this year, and I believe he's one of the contenders, one of the teams going for this year.
Absolutely. In setting up the preview, Dennis, I'd like for you to handle this any way that you would like to. But early on, I just want to let everybody know that I took basically a photo of, and I've got them hand scribbled out here, of all 24 teams. I didn't really want to attach records to everybody, but I pretty much put a note by each one of the teams that I thought was going to win each one of the divisions, and then tried to pick out what I believe the 3 wild card teams are. But as I went through, it was really becoming very difficult differentiating, teams 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I think it's going to be a very tight contest.
Oh, absolutely. We saw the standings last year. Look at this. You had you had your division winners, so Omaha, Cave Creek, and Chicago. But look at everybody that was in contention for a wild card spot. Mm-hmm. Chandler was 9-7. St. Paul was 8-8. Denver was 8-8. Boulder was 8-8. Mm-hmm. Then you had, 2 other teams that were 7-9. So yeah, it's going to be a tight. When you get down to trying to figure out who's going to be those last 3 playoff spots, it can go either way.
Well, and you always have something. You always have something to play for too. So that's nice. Denis obviously plays in a lot of draft leagues. I believe he plays in a stock league as well. He and I both are members of Autumn Wind, and in that league there are 30 teams. So you can only imagine there's only a handful of players who don't wind up on each one of these rosters. And I think you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but in Autumn Wind it takes a little bit longer to kind of build up that team, where here you're basically taking 24 teams out of 32. So every roster, it's rare to see a lot of zeros out there. You see a lot of 4s and 5s, but you wouldn't see a lot of holes. So I think that's probably why there's a little bit of closeness there as far as the middle of the road teams.
Yeah, and there's a lot of top heavy teams too. Or the league's kind of top heavy. I mean, you get that with every league. You're always going to have a group of people who are going for it, and then another group that are trying to rebuild. So. Mm-hmm. But so you might see some 0s and 4s on some of the other, some of the rebuilding teams, but mostly for the teams that are in contention, or at least trying to make it into the playoffs. You're not going to have very many holes in their rosters.
Right.
So let's talk about Furden. You must have them. Why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about them in the order that you have predicted? That's fine. I would guess you just coincidentally we picked Furden to go first, but I would guess that they would be your division favorites to finish first in the AFC East.
Without question. One of the early things you taught me about this league was the strength of lines in particular. And I remember the first game that I played with you, as a strat rookie, you kind of look at the line and think, hey, I've got 6, 4, 5, 6 across. Well, come on, that's not the story. The real story is pass blocking. I want you to take a look at that line. I mean, rolling with 6 clear across of 4 of those 5 linemen, and rolling with 7 on pass blocking as well. I mean, it's pretty clear that their quarterback, Tom Brady, is not going to get dirty very often.
No, and look at his card. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Tom Brady is going to be remembered as probably maybe the best quarterback in NFL history, certainly of our generation. But look at that short pass wrong. You have hits all the way from 3 to 7. You've got a receiver reading on 8, another hit on 9, and another hit on 12. Mm-hmm. So that looks like what a flat pass wrong would look like typically for an elite quarterback or an elite flat passer, but he's got that on his short pass card. And the long pass card isn't bad either. Now, people have talked about across the board these last few sets, the long pass card seems to be a little bit watered down, but Brady's going to move the chains, and he's got double team completions on 7 and 4. This is the best quarterback card in the set. He's got one of the best offensive lines in the set. Good luck stopping the Furton Fighting Otters.
I agree.
And David Johnson, look at that. He has a couple of young guys. He, usually have a strong team. He's able to turn his teams around pretty quickly because last year I think he was rebuilding a little bit, and he finished where he would have a high pick, but he also traded for several other picks. But he's got weapons galore with C.J. Anderson, Mike Evans, John Brown, Travis Kelce. Sammy Watkins is not even starting for him. That's a powerhouse. There's no doubt about it. This is a powerhouse team. And
I dare say, Dennis, that we are maybe looking at the Otterman dynasty.
Oh, boom. Where's our sound effects? I'm typically terrible at the sound effects, so let me pull that up here. Okay, so in typical Denis Crowley fashion.
There we go.
Timing
I'll be here all week.
Okay, so and his defense is really strong too. So it's not like it's all one-sided, a one-sided affair for this guy. He's playing a 4-3, so that's the one that's updated. But look at this. Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh are next to each other. Olivier Vernon and Cliff Averill, just 5s and 6s across the board on just about every position. He has one middle linebacker that's a 0, but he's a 6-run stuffer. So he's got, I think he's got excellent defense too. So this guy's going to be a 15-1, 14-2 type team. Definitely going to be a top seed in the AFC.
No question. And he is loaded for bear for the next several seasons too.
Yeah, he's 4-3, excellent, good. Yeah, he's got a really good team. He's not a one-year sellout. He's going to be among the contenders from here on out. So who do you have as the second seed?
I had Chandler as the second seed, but by a whisker. It's very close to St. Paul, but I had Chandler second.
Okay, so let's look at their team. They have, let's see. Matt Ryan is the quarterback. Sean McCoy the halfback. What did you like about this team? What did you see on this team as their strength?
Well, when I start, like I said, there's not much of a separation when we start looking at the talent because, again, this is a 2014 league, and I think he's got a good quarterback and obviously a couple of good running backs now. Got 3 7s basically on the line, along with a couple of 6 run blockers as well. But when it's clear that he's the second place team in this, as far as like I said, there's going to be a lot of separation between the division winner and the second team. But he's got some weapons. There's no question he's got some weapons.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at the roster sheet. He's average on defense, so that might be a weakness. But his offense is really strong. He picked up some guys for the future too, and Jeremy Langford. Theo Riddick now is going to be the main back in Detroit possibly.
Right.
He's always been an excellent pass receiver, so maybe he'll be able to run the ball a little bit. And Allen Robinson, a breakout receiver last year, pair him with Emmanuel Sanders. And this team's going to be heavy on the offense. Mm-hmm. He's got 3 7 pass blockers and a 5, so he'll get his fair share of dump-offs. And then he's got a couple anchors at each level of the defense. Derek Wolfe on the line, Danny Trevathan at the linebacker, and Jonathan Joseph in the secondary. So it looks like a strong all-around team. Maybe not elite when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, but that's one of the better offenses in the conference.
Right. I think his secondary is maybe just a little
suspect.
A little bit. Again, though, not everybody can have 2 6s at the corner and a 5 on your nickel. So,
yeah, tell me about it. When we get to my team, you'll see that's the case this year for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and let's look at them. Let's look at their. We haven't actually. Mike hasn't built this yet, but Mike's building a coaching page for every coach, so we can go look back at some point. Maybe we can do another show.
Okay.
And when that's finished, and show like here's what Tony's done over the years. Here's what Pike's done over the years. It's kind of a cool little feature. Mm-hmm. But that's to come in future years. So, third place team in the AFC East.
St. Paul.
The St. Paul Saints. Now, let me look at their team. I'm trying to remember the type of trades that they did.
Well, he took my first round pick, and for the life of me, I'm trying to figure out if that was Darius, Marcel Darius.
Oh, possibly. He's got Big Ben and Mark Ingram. That's a nice combo, along with AJ Green and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett.
Great pick for Lockett.
Yeah,
that was a great pick.
Yeah, so he's got pretty strong line, 2 6s and 2 5s run blocking. His defense, he's got 3 5s on the line. Leonard Williams is going to shift inside and play defensive tackle for him. Mike Daniels and Ezekiel Ants on the outside. He's got a 6 anchor at left linebacker and Jamie Collins with some force to support. And he's also average, but he's a point away from getting good pass defense and a half a point away from getting good run defense. So if he's in contention, I can see him making a move. If he upgrades one of those outside linebackers from a 4 to a 5 or a 6, he can bump himself up on run defense for sure, and maybe get another 5 safety somewhere to get up to good pass defense. Probably getting up to good pass defense is more important in the way the cards are laid out. But
right.
He's got a pretty strong team, so I could see him even finishing second with some upside there. Mark Inkert's got a nice card, although he does have limited carry. Oh, and Carlos Williams.
Well, and I was going to mention that. There's in your mind, he's going to be a one-hit wonder, not know exactly where he's going to be if he ever gets his act together. But what a card it is!
Yeah, let's take a look quickly at that card. Carlos Williams has a halfback fullback card, which makes him particularly dangerous because you can line him up as the fullback in the pro set. And look at that. He's got plus 26 on 9 off tackle wrong. He's got big hits on the edges, plus 41 on long gain and run. So he's not just a single column guy. He can run to all 3 levels. And guess what? He can go deep. He can catch passes. So this guy is 93 rush attempts. He's got a longest dot, so he can go all the way for running, and then for passing, he can go up to 26 yards. So pretty nice little card, and he can even pass block a little bit with a 3 pass block rating. He lost his first game 34-10 though. So
something else I noticed, Dennis, about his. But
he played Furton. That was against Furton. That was against the top team.
Hardly a litmus test, but something else he's got too. He's got some monster pass rushers on this team. You may have covered it basically.
Yeah, Ezekiel Ants is a 5'12", 6".
Yep.
He's got Jamie Collins as a 6'6", 7", and then he's got some backup linebackers. Preston Smith, right. Yeah, and he can even go to Greg Hardy to bring him in on third downs to boost his right end a little bit. So he's got some weapons.
Yes, he does. You're kind of looking at this. You're trying to give it the best that you can as quickly as you can. Those two easily could be interchangeable. Now that we look at it a little bit more closely, St. Paul could wind up sneaking in there over top of Chandler. I could definitely see that.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they're both like 9-7, 10-6, fighting for that. Fighting for a wild card spot. Maybe both making it.
Right.
That brings us to the Omaha Steaks next, right?
Omaha Steaks, yes.
So let's look at Omaha on the roster sheet. Why is it not finding Omaha? Or I'm on the wrong league.
Well, skill position players, basically quarterback. He's got Phillip Rivers. He's got Skittles in the back, and he's kind of lacking as far as that's concerned. Kind of some also ran backs. At the he's got Dez.
He's definitely rebuilding. I know that he was trying to get draft picks for the future, and he acquired a couple of or drafted a couple of young players. He didn't totally sell out. And this is an interesting way to rebuild because he kept his 6 cornerback and Josh Norman, and he has a young strong safety in Calvin Pryor. So he's got some pieces there. He's not like he said, "Oh, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna get rid of everybody." And Kurt can coach. He's always been in and around the playoffs. Of course, he had bad luck because he had a lot of guys hurt at ratings all at the same time. Lynch went from the best card in the set to like middle of the road card. He had Des Bryant get hurt and have a kind of a subpar card. He had, let's see, who else did he have? Where's his uncarded guys? Yeah, no, maybe I'm wrong about this. He just had some, there's some typical what happens with certain guys. You get old and you kind of become ineffective. So I think he was caught off guard a little bit. But Rivers still has a strong card. I wouldn't be surprised though if he finished like 4-12 or 5-11. He'll win some games just on his coaching, pass blockers. So he'll get some dump offs. One of his greatest strengths on this team is is his ability to coach him up, because I see a lot of holes there. That you should be able to run all day on that defensive line.
Yeah.
In the league.
Yeah,
but he'll be back.
It is rated poor. That's going to be rough for him. Kurt's a nice guy, and I coached against him in the SSFA. He's a quality coach. He had Arizona. Am I correct? The Cardinals.
Yes.
And a lot of people were questioning the talent on that team, and he got them into the playoffs. You're right. If anybody can get some wins out of that team, it's certainly Kurt.
Let's go on to the AFC. Is this the Central? Is that what we're calling it?
That's what we are calling it. And I have basically Cave Creek finishing first. Now, I coach Ironton. I'm almost afraid to say what I'm going to say for that. I actually have me crazily enough finishing second with Ann Arbor third and Minnesota fourth. So if you want to go over Cave Creek.
All right, let's take a look at Cave Creek. Now, Cave Creek, definitely a contender. I think he's got excellent. What is this thing? Cave Creek. But Cave Creek War Eagles. That's right. I don't know if he's an Auburn fan or what, but Cave Creek War Eagles. He made a lot of trades to try to bolster his team. He's got excellent pass defense. That's going to be nasty. Look at those 3 6s in the back. Earl Thomas, Darrell Revis, and Darius Slay, and supported by a 5 free safety. He's got big-time pass rusher in Chandler Jones, 5'12", 1. He's got Don Terry Poe as a 6 nose tackle. That's a stud right there. Mark's typically been basing his teams around strong defense and average offense. But guess what? This time he's got a really strong card in the set.
Great card. Yep.
Gio Bernard and Le'Veon Bell. Superb 1-2 punch with Duke Johnson able to catch passes. Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. Now you're talking about a dynamic duo at wide receiver that's going to be tough to stop. And look at that offensive line. 6'5", 5'7", 5'7", 5'5", 4'7". So
I love this team, Dennis. I don't believe I've coached against Mark, but I love what he's put together.
Yeah, I put him. He wiped out his week 1 opponent 34-0. So I have that is a first place team, definitely in contention with Furden for the AFC division title. So yeah. Mark's built a nice team there. I could see him finishing with 12, 13 wins, a little bit behind Furden maybe, depending on how he coaches them up or what kind of breaks he gets. You always have those games you're going to lose no matter what. Look at that. Those tight ends, Jordan Reed and Zach Ertz. That's a nasty 1-2 punch and a 2 tight end. Those 4 weapons up front: Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Jordan Reed, and Zach Ertz. I mean, who are you going to double? Who are you going to double team? And then his backs can all catch. So that's a conundrum right there.
Yeah, an opponent is going to have to hit some coin flips against him basically, and just have some intuition.
Right. So second place, Ironton Tanks. Let's look at the Tanks. Of course, you made some deals also to try to go for it a little bit this year.
Yes, I did. Marcel Darius, Adrian Peterson. At the beginning of the year, I had basically I took over Wisconsin. Lawrence Green, I believe, his team.
Yeah.
Yes. So in this league here, basically, you don't have to do a draft. You just take over a team. And since I'm going
to jump off real quick. You wax poetically about your team and how you built them, and I'll be right back.
Sure. Okay. So I took over a team basically that was owned by Lawrence Green, who was in the previous league that I was in, the SFFDL. And it had a lot of talent on it. In particular, it had 2 quarterbacks, Cam Newton and Tyrod Taylor. And I felt that if I could deal one of them, I could bring some pieces back. Now, the problem is I can't exactly remember who I made in each one of these trades, but over the time I traded Cam and some draft picks and wound up bringing back in return Adrian Peterson, who we all know is a feast or famine card. You've got to be patient with him, and I hope that I can be patient with him. Also brought back Marcel Darius and Michael Brockers to improve my defensive line. This is a league in which your cards are based on the skills of your players. Basically, there's a mathematical formula that you use, and I noticed that the teams who had the best chance were the ones who were able to build teams and build the best numbers. Now, I wasn't able to get an excellent card, but at least in both, I was able to get good in run and good in pass. So I decided at the end of this to keep Tyrod Taylor after the ratings came out, and Ed Barrow, who is one of the leaders of Strat-O-Matic. He's been running a lot of leagues, and he puts together these ratings guide. And at the end of this, he decided that Tyrod Taylor was a top 5 quarterback, and I felt, you know what, to get better, there's no sense in having 2 quarterbacks. And so I've sold all out for Tyrod Taylor. So if he gets hurt or something crazy happens to him, it's all on me. This is the team that I'm basically going with. I have what I believe to be a pretty decent line with 6 and 4 5s across on the run and 3 7 on the pass as well. So I think I'm going to keep Tyrod pretty clean. I've never had a running quarterback before, so I think that's going to be kind of interesting. I have played one game, and I really like my defensive line at 6-5-5-4. The only thing this team doesn't really have is a pass rush. I've got 2 6s at the corners and feel pretty good about that. But again, I'm a coach, and I know it's going to take a little while to learn the ropes here. So I think I have a second-place team, but whether or not that's going to be enough for the playoffs, I think that's going to be, up for debate. But I did get a chance to play my first game and feel comfortable with this team. It's just going to be a learning process. As I am new to Strat-O-Matic. I've only been playing online for about a year. We are going to move on now to the third team, and Dennis will catch up with us here in a moment. That would be Ann Arbor, and that actually was a team that I got a chance to play. He had a substitute coach, Bob did, and I had an enjoyable game with a gentleman named Michael. We had a lot of fun. He started with Ryan Fitzpatrick at the quarterback. Angelo Williams, who had a wonderful game, was his running back, but he's also got Carlos Hyde basically coming off the bench as a change of pace back. His wide receivers, maybe just a little bit suspect. Basically, he has Alan Hearns, and also he made a lot of passes to Brian Waters. It's just some iffy wide receivers, but he does have Kelvin Benjamin, so by the time next year rolls around, I think he'll be in pretty good shape. As far as his line's concerned, on the run side, basically a 6 and a couple 5s and a couple of 4s. Pass blocking, pretty clean, 5, 5, 4, and 3. His defense, basically, he gave me fits. We played a game basically 20-17. Got average defense on both sides, but Michael turned out to be a good play caller, and I'm sure that Bob is as well. So, again, Bob, I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to finish in second in the division or you're going to finish in third. I honestly look at this as a toss-up, basically. I think it could go either way. He's got a good defensive line with 5s across, and also his linebackers are a little suspect at 4, but he's got a very decent defensive secondary. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where that's going to go as far as whether or not I'm able to sneak into second place or if he winds up getting second place. But I think it's a toss-up between our two teams. I also have in this division Minnesota, who I have put as the 4th team, and I believe I kind of have them in rebuilding mode. Now, again, I hope that no one takes this the wrong way because I am new to this, and this does not at all take into account coaching, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with it as well. I think a strong coach can take a mediocre team. Basically, we'll be starting, I would assume, it looks here like Sam Bradford, basically. Got Darren McFadden at running back. At wide receiver, we'll be splitting his time between Doug Baldwin, Tavon Austin, and Bruce Ellington. And at tight end, it looks like he's got Brent Selleck. So he's got pretty decent skill position players. If you look at his offensive line, he's basically looking at a 6-5-4-4-4 across the line from run. His pass blocking could be a little suspect, though. He has only a couple of 5s across. He has 3 5s actually across the line, and he does have a couple of 4s. So he could be vulnerable to the pass rush. If you look at his defensive cards, we're looking at a good run defense and an average pass defense. He's got decent help at free safety and strong safety, but his corners do have 4s, so those could be vulnerable. And he also has a linebacker set with a lot of 4s. So he has a strong defensive line, though, with 2 6s, a 5, and a 4. could be a rebuilding year for him. But again, I haven't worked with Paul very much. I'm getting ready to play him actually for my next game. And I'm excited to meet all the coaches in this league. It's a little bit difficult for me to judge who's going to wind up in the best shape because, again, a really good coach can coach up an average team. I have him basically slotted in the 4 spot. When Denis returns, we will head on off to the AFC West. He'll join us in a moment. Basically, in the AFC West, I have Blackburn listed first, followed by Boulder, and I believe Dracut, and Vero Beach.
No, I'm going to delete that back.
So Denis will probably come join us here in just a moment here, but let's go ahead and take a look at Blackburn.
I got it from the Hobbit's name.
All right, I'm back. So where are we at?
Okay, I basically jumped through the rest of my division and let everybody know that I felt like Ann Arbor, who I've already played.
You're able to share the rosters, right?
I'm sorry?
You're able to share the rosters on your screen?
Should I have grabbed? Yeah, I probably should.
You're not. You're still looking at my screen. So where are we at, Ann Arbor?
I just basically glazed through Ann Arbor just momentarily. I played him, actually. Of course, I talked about that. I had a substitute coach in Minnesota.
Yeah, Bob's a good guy. Bob's a good coach, so he'll coach those guys up. But I think he's a little bit low on the talent size. He's got Romo and Hyde. So where did you have him predicted?
I had him 3, followed by 4th for Minnesota.
But anything can happen. You know, you get these teams that are on the edge. If they get a couple of good games or they coach them up well, they could definitely move up from 3 to 2 or even challenge for the division if they get lucky.
Right. Like I said, I had, I talked about D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo Williams has a terrific card. He ran all over me in the game that I played against him. I got very lucky toward the end and just took a wild guess on a key that stopped him on a 4th down in overtime that basically won the game. But overtime, it's not like he hit big runs. He just has a lot of nice 6, 7, 8-yard games. He keep hitting wrong, and for some reason he was just running all over the field on me.
Nice. All right, so who else is there? Who's the 4th place team?
Minnesota.
Now, are they a rebuilding team, or you just have them a little bit less than the other teams?
Yeah, they Minnesota, again, I don't want to take shots at anybody, but I think they've got some holes on that team, particularly the line. There's lots of 4s on the defensive side as well.
Right, and he wound up taking over this team. Oops, I went too far. Paul has been in the league before, and he was Minnesota then too, but he had a different franchise. So he took over for one of the owners that left, and he's got, look at all those trades he made for 2016 picks. It looks like he's trying to retool his team a little bit, but he's got decent talent. He's got McFadden, who can run a little bit. He's got, his quarterback's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, because Bradford looks good. Maybe he'll be really good in Minnesota for Minnesota, and for Minnesota in our league. But right now, I don't think his card's one of the better ones, if I remember right. He did pick up some pieces during the draft that can help him this year, like Richie Incognito. He already has Brandon Williams and Muhammad Wilkerson on the line, so that's a very strong defensive line. He's got DeMarcus Ware as a pass rusher at linebacker and 2 5s in the secondary. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see him compete. He's got to get a little bit more production. Let's look at that Bradford card real quick. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember this being that great. And he can flat pass a little bit with it. Interceptions are high. If he tries to go deep, that'll come calling. And the short pass right isn't anything to sneeze at, but he might be able to do okay. This is an average card, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think weapon-wise, though, who you go to throw to, basically. I guess you could dink or dunk all you want to down the field, but eventually people are going to catch on with that. And if you got strong linebackers, I think he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. And plus,
are you taking shots at my Doug Baldwin? Look at this.
Now, wait a second.
DB Fresh, 89. He's got a decent card. He's got his best card so far as a Strat-O-Matic player. But, yeah, you're right. Besides that, you got Tavon Austin, Jeremy Butler, Bruce Ellington. So, yeah, he's going to have some problems. and he's going to have some problems protecting the quarterback with a couple of 4 and a 2, unless maybe he brings in Greg Robinson on third downs. But yeah, the offense will sputter at times. They'll need to get some breaks from the defense. But yeah, I can see what you're saying about fourth place.
I could see that. But again, good coach, never know.
Exactly. So, but he did lose his first game 34-0 to Cave Creek. So we already are seeing what the bullies in that division are going to be. Cave Creek and Burton both put the beat down on their opponents last week, scoring 34 and only allowing a combined 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And, so yeah, they're going to have some challenges getting to the conference final with those two powerhouses in there. Plus, your team's not bad either. I could see you upsetting one of them in the playoffs possibly.
Just to be honest, I got lucky because I took over a team that had a pretty decent skill set. I wanted a team that could compete. My experience with the SSFA, I took over a team that only had 3 wins, and I just wanted to see what it was like just to make the playoffs. It would have to be just roll after roll after roll of luck to have any chance to beat a top team like Ferndon or Cave Creek. It just experience playoffs.
And I wasn't here for you talking about your team, but you have to be careful not to flat pass too much with this team, because that is a tendency that I've seen from a lot of new coaches, that they want to get those white die 6s and flat a lot. But Tyrod Taylor, look at his must-run column. That is nasty. He's got 31, 26, 23, 15, 11, 9. So 2 through 7, he's almost getting you a first down. But you have to throw short and long. Mm-hmm. You can throw it long with these guys. 5, 6, 7. I had that with Russell Wilson last year. You throw deep, you hit a must run, you can get a big gainer. And then you want to take advantage of people calling run against Peterson. I mean, obviously he has a very chunky card. Mm-hmm. But you burn your opponent with a couple of big runs, they're going to sneak in some run calls, and then you can get over to your receivers guess wrong. But man, yeah, this is the kind of card that can frustrate the heck out of you if you guess wrong and you're rolling 6, 7, 8, and you're having to punt.
Well,
after 3 guessed wrong runs.
This is coming from a person with a great deal of experience, and I'll just tell you, my first game, I was basically pulling my hair out because when Peterson's not running well and all the must runs are coming up 9, 10s, and 11s, then you're like, well, I'm going to go to what I know, and I'm just basically going to dink and dunk my way down the field. Obviously, that's not the strategy. You can't play away from your team's strengths.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to say. You have an excellent pass blocking team with 3 7s and 2 5s. So you need to throw short and long to get those dump offs, or you get those must runs.
Yep, so that's good advice.
That's how you can take some of these powerhouses out. So let's go on to what is the next one? The AFC
West. Yes.
West. The West is the best. Let's talk about who did you have pegged to finish first in the West?
Well, my pick's subject to change. I went with Blackburn, then Boulder, Dracut, and Vero Beach. So let's go with Blackburn first.
Okay, Blackburn. Now, I can tell you from experience that Mike Stuckey and the Dracut Nitties are not going to give up that division without a fight. But let's look at Blackburn first. They finished. They lost 44-10. So you don't want to overreact, but that's bode well for your prediction. But
okay, that's all right.
We got Blake Bortles, a nice young up-and-coming quarterback. Look at that. Look at that end run card. My goodness. Short gains galore. Wow. Nice must-run card, too. Can he throw the ball? Yes, he got a nice flat pass card, pretty decent short pass card. The interceptions will catch up to him if he tries to go deep too much, and maybe that's what happened in his first game. Mm-hmm. Bring me the phone, Hunter. Who is it? Is it Mom? My sweetheart's working tonight, so.
I'll tell you, Dennis. We may just flip this division, but I'll tell you, when I was looking at all 6 divisions, I said that this one here to me was like the most evenly matched. So it's pretty obvious we're going to look at this probably 2 different ways. But I felt like 1 through 4, it's really tough to differentiate them.
Yeah, he's got a problem at nose tackle because he's either playing Terrence Knighton. Let's look at his team. Is he? Let's see, Blackburn. He is a 3-4 defense, average against the run, average against the pass. But when you have a team with a nose tackle 4, you can run him off the gut pretty regularly unless he stuffs him with his linebackers. Now, the good thing for him, he does have two good powerhouse pass rushing linebackers in Lamar Houston and Melvin Ingram. So he'll have to bring those linebackers regularly to try to stuff those zones.
Mm-hmm.
But I see this team as being in trouble on defense because of the number of fours that they're playing. Not a ton of pass rush outside those guys, and only 2 5s in the secondary. But he could do some things. His offense also is missing. Now, Marvin Jones has a pretty decent card, but he's not what you consider a true number one wide receiver. And Torrey Smith, I can't remember if this is a good year for him or an average year, but he can go deep always. And his running backs, Lamar Miller and DeMarco Murray. So nobody's really scaring you too much. Miller's probably got, I think he's got a top 10 card though. So let's look at Lamar Miller. Nice fullback in Kuhn. Yeah, Lamar Miller's got decent card. He can get you some big numbers, get strong, end run, and off tackle. Not very good up the middle. So he can catch the ball a little bit too. 54-yard as his longest pass. That's nice. Not going to get a lot of dump offs. He's got a 3 pass blocker and a 4 right tackle, so he can get sacked a little bit. So, okay, I wouldn't pick them to finish first, but I'm guessing this division is going to be one of the more competitive ones.
I think once you see the rest of the division, you'll see what I'm saying. I basically have Boulder second.
Okay, Boulder. So you had the 2 teams that lost in week 1. Boulder lost at Jerkut, and Blackburn got blown out by Bureau. You see them as the top finishers, and that's good. I like that. You don't want to just go based on what happened in week 1. I like those 7 pass blockers on Boulder. Let's go look at their. So this is Tony Pierscala, and I think he's with us in SSFA as well.
Cutler has a better card this year than he did last year.
Right. Oh, he's got Thomas Reckitt-Rawls. I like that. That's going to be a chain mover right there. His receivers are kind of weak. James Jones has got a strong card, but besides that, James Jones and Crabtree are pretty decent starters. That's not bad. Jimmy Graham's also got an excellent tight end card this year. Julius Thomas is a good second tight end. So that looks really good. And 2-6. With Gerald McCoy. So, yeah, this is a nice team. I like this team.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see why the bottom 2 teams, in my mind, were able to destroy the top 2 teams.
Okay, so let's take a look at Jerkut. Now, this Jerkut will be my pick just because I know Mike and I know the way he coaches him up and I know his history. But let's look at him. He has Aaron Rodgers. Now, this is 3 or 4 cards in the set. Nice end run card, nice must run card. And he's got a decent amount of must run hits, but look at those gaps on a flat pass. That's not Aaron Rodgers usually. It's complete and not a lot of action long pass either. So he still keeps his interceptions low, so he'll have success that way, and he'll get you off balance. He'll make you call run with that end run threat. And Jamal Charles, who's got one of the better cards in the set. Limited carries, only 71 carries. But look at that end run. 6, 7, 8, all short gains, 10's a short gain. That's going to get people to call run more often than a typical card.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at his defense. So he won a close game week 1, 20-3, over one of his division mates. He is average. So a lot of these teams are average. So that will make for some competitive games. He does have 3 5s in the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be pretty close. No, I guess not that close. His linebackers are going to kill him, all those 4s. But I think Mike knows that he's in this for the long term. He picked up a 4th-round pick next year to help him trying to solidify things. He's got Demaryius Thomas and Alshon Jeffrey. That's a nice receiver core.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe Fleener's a nice tight end. So I see a lot of good things here, but I do see a lot of holes. I can see why you had them pegged for 3rd.
On the defensive side in particular, I mean, he's got a 0 on his line. That's almost you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody with that. He has
Right.
4-3.
Right. No, well, no, he's running a 3-4.
Oh, did I see that wrong? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, he is running a 4-3. Am I wrong?
Oh, guess
Maybe I didn't update the roster sheet. Let's check the card.
he'd have to be running a 3-4.
I would think so too. Yeah, he's a 3-4. So I got to fix the spreadsheet. So I have that backwards.
Well, I want to change my prediction. No, I'm kidding.
I like Mike. I like Mike to finish first just based on his coaching. So
yeah,
the other guys have teams that are all. I would say that these teams are all about the same. Now let's look at Vero. Vero laid 44 points on Port Blackburn, but how did they do that? Let's look at their average as well.
I'd love to know how they did that, because if you look at this team offensively, it's not like they're lacking talent, but there's nothing explosive.
Well, he needs to fix his computer manager. Obviously he's going to be playing Dalton over Michael Vick. So Andy Dalton's got a really nice card, really nice. Look at that card. It's Aaron Rodgers-esque if you stick a completion in there on 7.
Oof.
Besides that, he's almost the same as Aaron Rodgers. And he's got the completion because Aaron Rodgers was 2 through 7, 9, and 12. He's got the same thing without the 7. That does take 6 chances away, but that's still a nice card.
What's his must-cut-run card look like?
It's okay. 12, 11, 9, 8. Not great.
Yeah.
So he'll scramble for 5 yards once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
His running backs, who's he got running the ball? Chris Johnson's decent in run. He's got some big. He's a chunky card, so he'll get you those plus 62s. Maybe he hit some of those big numbers last week. It's probably going to be his go-to guy. And you got Chris Thompson who can catch the ball. And Chris Thompson's got like a sneaky card. Oh, Mike Tolbert. You have got to look at Mike Tolbert's card. Look at this.
Sure.
He has short gains on 6, 7, 9, and a big number on 2. He can't really run that well, but he can catch the ball, and he can run it gets wrong. So
now
you line him up in a pro set, and him and Blunt. Man, that's 2 heavy hitters there that can do some damage.
Dennis, let's talk about this for a second. There may be some people like me who are just looking in for the first time, who are interested in getting into a league. This is a low usage running back. So could you explain to everybody regarding Tolbert's card? You would look at that and a novice would say, well, I'll just run this guy 50 times, but you can't. What is our rule as far as how often a low usage running back can carry?
Boy, poor Mike Tolbert. Well, here's the low usage running back limiter means that you are going to be stopped by your average gain on rolls of 2 and 3 on the white die. So when you roll in the game, when you roll a D6, 1, 2, 3, the result's going to be on the offensive card, and 4, 5, 6 is going to be on the defensive card. Now you need to average 4 carries a game in order to avoid that low usage limiter, and Tolbert finishes 2 carries shy of that. So that means when he hits his short gain, it's going for a short gain. If the white die is a 2 or a 3, it's going to be stopped for 4 yards. So that you're right. That does dampen my enthusiasm for Tolbert a little bit. I thought he had enough carries there to avoid that, but you're right. He's 2 carries short because 16 games times 4 means you need to have 64 carries in order to avoid the low usage run card. Now, a guy like Chris Johnson, he has over 100 carries. He has 196. He doesn't have to worry about that. So no matter where he lands, it's always going to be, it's going to go for what the result on the card is. It's not going to be stopped for his average gain of 4.2 yards or 4 yards. So yeah, so there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. So I still see some good things. I like those 2 quarterbacks there, Dalton and Aaron Rodgers. Who is Blackburn's quarterback? Blackburn's Blake Bortles. That's a nice quarterback too. And Boulder is Jay Cutler. Yeah, you're right. He does have a decent quarterback card for this set. Man, that's tough. This is like one of those. This division is like a toss-up division. I could see it going just about any way.
Well, and that's why when people are going to listen to this, if they do, I don't want Vero Beach thinking I'm a complete tool and saying, well, what would you put me in 4th place for? They're all good teams. So it's to me, it's a coin flip. I agree with you, notwithstanding the first week's matchups, that division could easily be flipped, and I think I could make Blackburn and Boulder mad too. So,
yep. I just made a trade in Salifa, so excuse me for setting this trade offer in real quick. So why don't we go on to the next division? I'm gonna say Dracut is gonna finish first. I'll go with your Blackburn second. I'm gonna pick them for second, and then third and fourth. I see that that could go to either way, but I will go with Vero based on Andy Dalton's card, and Boulder a close fourth.
Okay, so that sounds great.
Going to the NFC.
Yes.
Why don't you say a few words why I sent the seam line? Tell me how you see the playoffs playing out. Give me a conference championship matchup and a division or a conference winner for the AFC.
I just have to think that's got to be Cave Creek and Fendon. I mean, I can't imagine anybody upsetting. I mean, again, anybody could get lucky with dice rolls, but those two teams are just so stacked. I can't imagine anybody else emerging from that conference. But
I could see you as an upset victim or as upset potential. I could also see Dracut or one of those teams in the West as in the NFC West as a possible upset. You get in the playoffs. It's a one-game elimination. It's not like baseball. You have best of 7. It can go either way. So I would not be surprised.
I'll say this about my team. I'm not. That's nice of you to say, but one thing I noticed in some of these other teams that I don't have, and that's depth. And I mean, one injury in any of those spots, and I'm pretty much doomed. It would have to take some perfect health on my team and some really dumb breaks from either one of those two teams for me to get past them. I see them both as solid favorites. It's a toss-up between those two. That could just be any given Sunday. Who knows what's going to happen between those two? But I think clear and away, they are the favorites.
Yeah, I would say Ferdon is the #1 favorite with Cave Creek right behind them. So I would give those teams, if one of those teams is not in the Super Bowl, that's an upset in itself.
Agreed.
But you never know what can happen in the playoffs.
I agree.
Single game tournament, nerves get going, and you get you get a little scared about your play call, and next thing you know, it's somebody gets a kick return touchdown or an interception.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that can go. That you never know. But I would say 80% chance that it's Ferdinand or Cave Creek in the Super Bowl.
Agreed.
In the NFC.
Agreed.
Right.
If we go to the NFC, basically East, Central, and then West, I have River City first. I have, Las Vegas second. I got Beach City third. And I'm sorry, I can't recognize my own writing here. Hallandren, or it's the newest owner.
Yeah, Hallandren. That's right. You said it right.
Mm-hmm.
So, hold on.
They do have a great team name.
I'm sending in this. You're sharing my screen. I'm sending in this trade offer.
Everybody, this is breaking news.
Yes. So I traded Tahir Whitehead, who's a 4.44, Lamar Houston, who's a 4.12-1. Now, the only reason he would agree to do this is, of course, because Lamar Houston tore his ACL. So that's the reason why I'm able to pick up this guy a little bit on the discount there.
Let me tell the listeners something, those who are not part of this league. So MIFA is actually where I became acclimated to this game. And early on in the podcast, I'd mentioned that Tom Cook did a lot of broadcasts of these games. And that's where I'd always kind of parted around with it. But when I got a chance to see these broadcasts and really got an inside look on how this game is played, he just did a marvelous job with these broadcasts. And it was the SOMIFA championships that I started watching, and I absolutely adored it. And that's basically where I am today in 3 leagues. So I'm very thankful that you all have put in the extra work. And also too, the interviews that you've all had with Glenn Guzzo, marvelous. Just a lot. It's really nice that I think Strat-O-Matic is becoming more focused on their customers and are more willing to embrace this new medium, basically, of YouTube and Twitter and things like that. I think it's great, and it's only going to help them.
I agree. No, I say Glenn Guzzo, and I've been pronouncing it wrong. Glenn's been too nice. I was told by, let me see, I got to find this here. I got to find this. I got a private message from somebody else on the forum that told me the correct way to pronounce his name. Glenn pronounces his name Guzau, not Guzau. Guzau. Just being polite. not to correct you. I didn't want to bring it up on the message board. So, Guzao. It's Glenn Guzao.
Guzao.
Not Guzao. Guzao.
Note to self.
Yes. So sorry, Glenn. Sorry for all that.
Yes.
Okay, now back to the preview, NFC style. So
Yes.
I know you just went through who you had as the first place team, but remind me again who you have. Who do you have in first place?
Let's see. River City.
River City. River City. Let's talk about them.
Sure.
So they lost a close one to Las Vegas last week, 31-27. So those are the teams you had 1-2. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the River City Raiders.
Look at their wideouts. Mercy.
Calvin Johnson, Brandon Marshall, and Jeremy Macklin. When you can't get Macklin into your starting lineup in a base set, you know you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a nice trio. And of course, Calvin's retired now, so I think he traded for him. But look at those pass blockers: 7, 7, 7,
Yep.
5, 7. Like slot machine. He'd be walking away with a 5-digit prize there with if you rolled all those sevens. And he's got Drew Brees, of course, who has a great card. This is a powerhouse offense, so it's going to be tough to stop it.
Look at his pass rushers though. Mercy sakes, he's got outside linebackers on both with 11s.
Oh,
got a really solid line. All five.
44-12 with 3 asterisks. Willie Young's a 45-11. He's got Charles Woodson in his heyday in his swan song with a 6. Casey Hayward, Pac-Man Jones, and Eric Weddle. So he's got all 5s with 1 6 in the secondary. He can bring the house. You try to throw on him, you're going to run into guys making those defender X plays, and you try to run on him, and he's got 4s, all 5s except for 1 4 in his 4-3. So this is a pretty nice team. I can see why you picked them to finish first. Now, they did lose their week 1 game, 27-31 to the Las Vegas Knights. So let's take a look at those Knights. The Knights are good average, and let's look at their computer manager. Now, unlike the season previews we do with Tom, where he's checking every little minute detail, I'm not checking the special teams. I might be overlooking some key factors there. So obviously we might miss some stuff. But Teddy Bridgewater is his starting quarterback, and he was able to beat Drew Brees. So that tells you that he can coach him up a little bit. That's not a bad little upset there when you got Bridgewater taking out Brees. So what did you like about the Las Vegas team?
I'm grabbing it here real quick. I'm sorry, I had to skip back to go get my my power thing. My iPad's running out of power. But I heard you there now. I'm going to go switch off to Las Vegas.
Yeah, so let me look at that. I'll pull them up. I lost my directory here. So we're in the NFC East. Yes. So that's Jason and the Knights. So he's got a pretty decent defense. I see a lot of 5s, a lot of 6s. He's running a 3-4. So he's got all 5s in the front. Not a lot of pass rush from the D-line, but he brings it with Justin Houston and Clay Matthews. That's a nice pass rushing tandem for your linebackers. So he's going to be blitzing a lot. Let's look at the box score from that game. I know it's just one game. Las Vegas had 23 first downs. How many times did they sack Brees? They didn't sack him at all. So he had a heavy pass rush linebackers against all those 7s, and he was able to hold up there. But it looks like it was just one of those close games that came down to the end. Oh, Las Vegas has got Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
So that's where he's going to get a lot. That's why he gets a little bit better production out of Bridgewater, because you got people calling run because they're worried about Gurley. So those are the 1-2 teams. I like that pick. Who did you have coming in third place?
Well, I basically there's not much separation between second and third, and that was Beach City. And, whatever you do when you have River City and Beach City together, just all the rules are thrown out the window, right?
Yeah, the River City should run right through Beach City, apparently, but that's not always the case. I know Butch is an excellent coach. He picked up Brock Osweiler for me, and that's looking to be a very smart play for him as Osweiler started strong for the Broncos.
Correct.
But he's looking to retool a little bit and maybe put together more of a winning team next year. But even this year, he's got Devontae Parker. He's got a nice little card. He's got Zach Martin, Jason Kelsey. He's got a couple of 7 pass blockers. His strength is on the defensive line. Geno Atkins, Cameron Jordan, and Jarrell Casey. That's a really strong line. Those guys should be good for a long time to come. And Nick Fairley's looking like he's having a bounce-back year in the NFL. And then he's got Von Miller. What can you say about Von Miller? He's the best edge defender in the game. He's basically won 3 or 4 games by himself, including the Super Bowl last year in the NFL by getting a strip sack and producing a turnover for his team. Chris Harris is his lone stud in the backfield. So I can see why he's taking a step back this year. Hoping that guys like Jeremy Lane and Quentin Rollins can step up and get ratings. Quentin Dunbar even. He picked up some nice young players. Lorenzo Malden's a nice young linebacker I like. So he's got some pieces. He's rebuilding. Ryan Kerrigan's good, but I could see him pushing for the playoffs actually. Maybe as a wild card team, it's the last wild card team because Butch knows how to coach him up. He's already started off with a win. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him take the division. But those top 3 teams are going to be tight.
Yeah, I think offensively he's going to be a little bit challenged, but you better have a good line when you're up against him. He's got 4 double-digit rushers. So
let's take a look real quick at Hallinger. You have them coming in 4th, but he's got Carson Palmer. Carson has a nice card. Look at that. I know that Rob is a newer coach. He's one of the few guys that can throw deep, but watch out for those picks. But look at that. That's a very strong short pass card right. He's got Doug Martin, who has one of the best halfback cards in the set. Be patient with Martin. He'll hit some. He's a little bit chunky, but he can run consistently up the middle and then try to hit the chunk yards outside and on off tackle. T.Y. Hilton, Kamar Aiken, both pretty good receivers. Gary Barnage, one of the better tight ends in the set. So his offense looks strong, but look at that offensive line. This is like the Seattle Seahawks offensive line in the NFL. He scrimped a little bit here, and that's probably going to cost him some gains this year. Because besides that, his offense looks really strong. He's got a 3 pass blocker and center Manny Ramirez, 2 zeros, and a couple of and the rest 4s run blocking. So he's not going to get much help moving the ball, and a lot of 4s on the defensive end. So yeah, I would pick them to finish the last 2, considering the other teams in the division. Although he's got some weapons and he can surprise people.
You know, the thing about a team with a bad line, you know, you're already putting yourself behind the 8 ball because the other team can basically play stand-up defense if they've got 1 or 2 good pass rushers. There's not really much you can do to stop that. You don't really challenge the defense. It's when you have lines that are full of 7s, when you basically put the pressure on defense, they're going to have to add a pass rusher. At least this is my experience, is that coin flip of, okay, I'm going to send this linebacker, but I'm leaving somebody flat in this zone, or I'm going to move my free safety over there, and now you're vulnerable to a long pass. But a team like this, when your line is kind of suspect, it kind of makes it a whole lot easier on defense that you can just stand there and say, okay, beat me. See if you can beat me.
Right. You give them a lot more freedom to call pass all the time. And
Right.
double team a lunch. So, but I think hopefully Rob will have fun and he'll be in the league a long time because he does have some really nice pieces, and I can see him if he addresses that offense. And offensive line is one of those positions that you can address it in the draft. A lot of people will skip on, get more glamorous, sexy positions, and you can get a guy like Brandon Scherf at the end of round 1 or early round 2, or Ali Marpet in round 2. So, yeah, you can fix your offensive line in a draft.
Okay, and now just as an aside point to this. So what Denis was talking about, so this I'm always getting these acronyms incorrect, SFFDL. It won't be this way this year, next year, but this year it was a 20-round draft, and it was done over a series of basically 3 weeks, a round a day until we went to the double picks, basically, which was 2 picks a day. And what Denis is saying is true, in that I watched him basically draft. When you've got a team that's in a position of strength, you don't have to go try to take a flyer on some rookies. And I saw some picks that you made late that basically would help your team for 2 reasons. 1, injury, but 2, one of the players you picked up, I believe, was a 0-rated center, but a 7-rated pass blocker. Was it Howley? H-A-W-L-E-Y?
Yeah, Howley, yep.
Okay. So I saw him go off the board, and I said, that is a typical Denis Crowley pick. And that was a late pick, and people are scared off by the 0. but you just put him in when you're getting ready to pass. He's like a third down center for you, right?
Yeah, and you can do that. It was round 6, and I think Jerkut was kicking himself because he needed a starting center, and he was trying to trade him, work a trade with him. But yeah, I have a 5 pass blocker at center, but on third downs and long, why not bring in the 7 and try to help you get some dump offs or protect your quarterback so he doesn't
absolutely
wind up in the dirt. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, you even later round in the double pick rounds, like we do a round a day, on the double pick rounds 2 days. There were some guys that people picked, like Rome, Jordan Mills. Now he's starting. Maybe he'll get one of those fluke 5s next year. Darrell Williams, Drew Cut picked up. He's backing up right now, but he's one of the Football Outsiders top 25 guys, and you can see him taking over for Remmers over in Carolina and becoming the starter. Who else is here? Let me find one more. There's always guys. Donald Stevenson, he was starting. I think he's hurt now, but he was starting for KC, I believe. So he can pick up a good rating. You get him around 14, which is crazy. Next year we're only going to have 10 rounds with a supplemental draft, so it'll be a little different. But somebody picked up in one of the last rounds, Cassius Marsh. Yep. Now he's not starting, but he's already got a couple sacks for the Seahawks, and he could be a guy who could pick up a nice like 4-8 outside linebacker type rating or defensive end type rating, or maybe a dual rating. So you never know. You can look for those guys in the late rounds to build on.
If you're watching this video for the first time, Denis had mentioned Pro Football Focus. As a newbie to the game, you have to get the subscription to this service because as Denis has had conversations with Glenn, a lot of how they base the ratings in Strat-O-Matic, and again, they've got scouting services other than Pro Football Focus, but they seem to lean very heavily toward it. And trust me, when you're in a draft league of 24 or 30 people, there are no secrets. I watched player after player after player get picked up that I had no idea who they were, with the exception of Pro Football Focus. Well, guess what? Everybody has the same service. Every week, basically, they assign player grades on all 11 players on both sides of the ball. It's very important that if you want to be serious about this game and get in draft leagues, it's $20, but it's definitely worth every penny.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to get those player grades. So let's go on to the next division. I want to wrap this up. My boys are rolling up Dungeons and Dragons characters and wanting to show me. So
we got to roll. All right.
Let's go to the NFC Central.
Sure. Canton, Virginia, Carolina, and Kingsholm.
For Canton, I know they made some trades. They didn't have a lot of picks early in the draft, but they made some trades to try to go for it this year. So who did you have winning the division?
I had Canton.
Okay, so let's look at them. So they got Matt Stafford. They're excellent run defense and good on pass defense. But look at this. Look at these guys on defense. He's got Khalil Mack, Jay Howard. He's got Thomas Davis, Derek Johnson, Brandon Graham, who's already got off the hot start in the NFL. Aqib Talib, Harrison Smith. So he's got a stud defense.
He does.
He's got 2-7 pass blockers, and then Matthew Stafford, who just keeps putting the offensive coordinator there, Jim Bob Cooter. Since Jim Bob Cooter's taken over, Matthew Stafford has really taken off, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or if Cooter's putting together the game plans that Detroit needs, but man, he looks like he's going to put together some strong strat cards each year, and he's throwing to DeAndre Hopkins. Well, Golden Tate doesn't have a great card this year. Anquan Bolden's pretty decent. Roddy White's probably one of his, worst receivers. But he's got Ryan Matthews and Jeremy Hill, so he's got pretty decent offense. Stafford's going to lead the way, and that defense is going to win him some games.
His line is okay, not like terrific, but just okay, running and passing. But his defense, I'd have to think. Now, we haven't gone over the rest of the teams, but as far as the NFC is concerned, this is the elite defense. Did you happen to see what they did in their first game?
No, let me look at that. But I know if I wanted to start a draft league and I would have my first pick of any defender, Khalil Mack would be the guy I would take.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way.
I've listened to several draft preview shows that you and Tom have had for the multiple leagues that you play in, and you guys should absolutely love his game, no question.
So Ken got upset first week by King's Home, the Stallions, who I made a trade with to finally get Russell Wilson on my team. He's not a big fan of Alex Smith, but Alex Smith came through for him with a pretty nice game. He actually, it wasn't Alex Smith, was it? It was King's Home's defense with a 60-yard pick six with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He was in a tie game. He got a couple of just to force that touchdown runs after he was trailing, and then Canton got a late touchdown with 1 second left, and they went for two to try to win the game. I love that. I love that bold decision by Chad to just win it. One play, you got a 50% chance of winning it. Why not do it? But the run failed. So he tried to go with probably Jeremy Hill or Ryan Matthews, and it just didn't quite get over the goal line.
Wow.
You gotta love that bold call. Go big or go home. That's what I always say.
Yeah. Well, good for them to King's Home to get that win. We're going to get to them here in just a little bit, but boy, they are stacked next year for the draft. We'll talk about that in just a moment.
Yeah. So Canton looks to be the prohibitive favorite despite that week 1 loss. Who did you have coming in second place? Carolina?
I had Virginia, but here's the crazy part is that when you on my draft sheet, on my prediction sheet, basically, I've got a little number with a circle around it, and that indicates how many draft picks these teams have for next year. Virginia has 5 number 1 picks for next year. But if you look at their team, I swear it doesn't look like they're like wildly rebuilding. I mean, you can see some holes here, but there's still some skill on this team.
Well, he has a poor. This roster sheet is wrong. I think I recalculated this. Hold on. Let me. I don't know where am I picking this up from. I'm pretty sure that he actually wound up with a poor defense. Look at the notebook. I think I corrected him. Yeah, he has a poor run defense. I was redoing these numbers. I guess I didn't finish recording it and uploading that sheet, but I'll go ahead and get that done tonight. But he's got a lot of 4s there on the defensive line and the linebacker. He's got some zeros. He's got 0 run defenders to go along with a couple of 5s. So, yeah, that's where his holes are. But that offense is pretty good. Eli Manning's got a decent card. I don't really like his targets that much. Tyler Eifert's got a good card. A couple of good pieces on the offensive line. But Latavius Murray is kind of just an okay card. So let's see what he did week 1. How did he wind up doing? He lost 17-27 to Carolina. So but man, he's going to be happy next year with those first-round picks. Yeah,
I mean he's young. Now he'll have to work on his defensive line because there's some 30-year-olds basically on there, so he's got some work to do. But I just have a feeling that he's going to have a pretty decent season. There's something about that team.
Well, Keith is a very good coach, so I could see that happening.
Yeah,
and even that 0, he's got a right guard, Jamon Brown, but he's a 7 pass blocker. So he could get some dumb balls with the 2 7s and 1 5. But yeah, I would say he's going to miss the playoffs, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Carolina, I had 3rd.
Okay, Carolina. Let's look at the Truckers. This is George Torres' team. He's the one that beat Virginia in week 1. He's got Derek Carr, nice little card, but not probably he's going to have some better cards ahead, I think, but he's got some nice tools around him in the NFL to build on that. Chris Ivory has a really good run card. Stephon Diggs, what can you say about Diggs? What a great pick that was. He looks like a number 1 receiver going forward. Matching Diggs up with Odell Beckham, that is a nice 1-2 combo. Jared Cook could have a sneaky good year. He's got Gabe Jackson, Anthony Costanzo, Bobby Massey. So 3 good pieces on the line.
But they can't pass block. That's going to be a real issue.
Well, no, those guys can. Massey's a 5, Jackson's a 5, and Costanzo's a 7. He's got a problem in the middle, but if you're going to have a problem, you want to have it in the middle. Corey Lindsley can't pass block, and neither can Chance Warmack's okay. Lindsley's the problem, so gave up some sacks. His defense, a lot of 4s there, I see, and a couple of 1-5 secondary. So that's going to be a problem for him. He's going to get run on a little bit.
Yeah.
And he'll have some problems bringing down the passer. Coming from his outside linebackers, Ahmad Brooks and Zadarius Smith. So yeah,
Well,
it's a decent team. Playoff potential there. What about Nicholas Hall and the Kings Holman Stallions? Now they made a lot of trades for the future too, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. And they are sitting with 4 number ones next year. So you would think, we're going to do our best to have our young players play and just see what happens. And here they are pulling off the win in week 1.
Well, even with that, he still had a lot of picks this year. He shored up some positions, picking Amari Cooper, Brandon Scherf. Alex Smith has a top 5 card in this set, so that's going to prevent him from losing games. I think if he wants to lose, it's going to be tough to do when you have a really good quarterback like that. And Justin Fortet's not a bad running card, and he still has some good pieces. Now maybe he wants to get those 4 first rounders and still make the playoffs, because this, to me, even though you had him pegged 4th, with his coaching and that defensive line, Carlos Dunlap, Michael Johnson, Dan Williams, he could be all right. Now, yeah, he has a lot of holes in the secondary. What does he wind up with? A good, poor defense. So, yeah, poor pass defense, he's in trouble. That's going to cost him in the end. So, despite the week 1 victory, look for him to run into some problems and maybe finish with 5 or 6 wins. Yeah, I can see that.
You're a big fan of Amari Cooper.
I love Cooper. Yeah, he's going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
And he got him later in the draft, too, which makes it even sweeter.
Yeah, boy, he did, didn't he? He lasted long enough for him, so he must have been happy. Last division, we'll go to the West. We've got, which includes you and Rome,
Tokyo,
and Jersey and Phoenix. So I have Tokyo going first with Rome second, but I do like Rome's team a lot.
Yeah, I've won like 20 games in a row. I won my last 10 in 2 years ago, and then I went 19-0 last year. I guess maybe 20, more than 20, 25, 29, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, so I guess I think I'm at 26 or 27 or 28, something like that. I think I gotta look to see what I want. I think I did. Well, they can probably let's see. Open. Let's just check this real quick.
Sure.
This has got to be a record for games in a row. That would be 2013. So let's be accurate here. So I won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I won the last 10, then 19-0 in the next season. So I'm 30. I have a 30-game winning streak going. Oh no, wait a minute. That's wrong, because I would have won 3 because I won the league that year.
Right.
So that's 13 plus 19 is 32. 33 in a row. I'm like the Los Angeles Lakers.
Boston Celtics. Now, did you? How'd you do in your first game?
I won against Randy, who's been one of my division rivals for quite a while. But his team right now is not. That first game, he's not built to contend this year.
Okay.
If you can see, I had the ball for like 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't get first downs aside from that one drive. So. But my team is not the team of last year, where it was a 19-0 team with an excellent defense. This is an average pass defense card, and I've got some good pieces. I'm going to have to win it offensively. But look at that secondary. I've got 2 4s. I got 4 at strong safety, 4 at free safety. I've got I'm playing a 3-4, and I'm starting a 0-4-3 at inside linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some holes. It's good against the run, average against the pass. And I will need to make 2 trades to upgrade those 2 safeties to 5s if I want to get good pass defense.
And I think, now you're not done yet. Is there still time in this one to trade, or are we done?
Yes, no. We have the trading deadlines at week 6, so you can still make moves up to week 6.
Okay, all right.
So if you get off to a slow start, you can trade off some guys, or if you get off to a strong start, you can add a few pieces.
And I kind of like that league for this reason. I'm sorry. The person who runs this league, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name.
Mark Long?
Okay, so when I was introduced to him first, I was asking about, what do you do as far as trades and stuff like that? And said, we're all grown men and women here. We're making our own trades, and you do whatever in the world it is you want to do. So I think it's nice. I don't see people taking advantage of anybody. I saw the trades, and they all seem pretty even-handed, but I like the fact that they kind of let people make their own deals, even as a rookie coach.
Right. No, I agree with that. But Tom calls these the anything goes leagues, and we do have to watch that. I mean, we have to police ourselves, not to try to take advantage of new owners, but try to help them out. We're not trying to make a deal. I'm trying to, look for benefits to both sides of it. So yeah, there is a benefit of having those anything goes types of leagues, but Mark's right. We're all adults, but we do have to, try to look for the good side, not just look for your own side. Look for a good pieces on both sides. So.
Well, and that's what builds leagues. You don't want to burn anybody out. Now, I looked at my schedule, and I do have you are on my schedule. I do have the opportunity to play you somewhere, I think, in the first half of the year. And as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the first game I ever played in SSFA, Dennis was nice enough to broadcast it for me, put it on YouTube. I got a chance to see the good stuff I did, the horrible stuff that I did. But he was very patient with me and shared with me some tips and tricks that I've started to use. And even now, I'm still learning. So, but I'm excited to have the chance to play your team. Now,
I don't see you on my schedule.
Now, I'm a big fat. I thought for sure you were on there.
Maybe it was an earlier version of it, but I did not see Ironton on my schedule. So
okay,
we'll have to meet in the Super Bowl.
Okay, so I'm going to edit that and say I am very fortunate to not play on your list.
my team isn't as good as teams in the past. Let's talk about the Rome Black Knights, because I think they could be one of the toughest competitors and actually could win this division outright.
I agree.
You have them pegged second?
Barely. I really, really like this team too. I don't know Chris that well. I know your coaching skills, and that's why I kind of put you at first. But again, he's got a really strong team. Now, yeah. here's the crazy part, Dennis, about this that's kind of funny. When I look at this team, on my SSFA team, Eddie Lacy's on my team, Jarvis Landry's on my team, Dante Moncrief is on my team as well, and so is J.J. Watt. So it's like I'm staring at my team from the other league. It's hilarious.
Nice. Yeah, that is interesting how that happens sometimes. Guys get together. But he's got a pretty nice team. If that's your team in SSFA, you're looking good for the future.
Yep.
So he's got Ryan Tannehill, Eddie Lacy. Now this was Lacy's card last year where he was, like overweight, fat, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So it's not as good as his rookie card, but he still has short gains. Got strong, got some pretty chuck numbers up top on the 2 and 3 off tackle wrong, and 2 linebacker wrong. So he can move the chains a little bit. But the strength of this team's got to be the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. He's got just guys up and down the line. He's playing a 4-3. He's got 2 6s in the middle, Linval Joseph and Quan Short. Quan Short is a 6'12" asterisk, which he's like one of those 1960s pass rushers from the Fearsome Foursome or something. You don't see a lot of defensive tackles with those big pass rush numbers. And then next to him is J.J. Watt. So, look, if you don't have your pass blocking in a row, you're going to be in trouble against these guys.
Yep.
And then you add in Pernell McPhee coming in as an outside linebacker, and that helps him to overcome the 3-4s in his secondary.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Benny Benwickery, Mike Adams, and Corey Graham. So, but that defense, those strong pass rushers, he's going to show blitz. He's going to bring those guys down, and you're going to have to, see if you've got the cojones to try to air it out against all that heat coming.
I agree. It's going to be very tempting when you see those 4s, but there's going to be a price to be paid.
Yeah, it'll be a fun team to coach against. So
sure. Yeah, I look forward to that one. That would be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, for sure. But he's good against the pass and excellent against the run. So he's going to be a handful.
Got Jersey next.
Jersey next. Okay, so this is Jersey Joe Golden. Lost to Rome in the first game. He is running a 3.4 average. I know he was just coming out of a rebuild. So this is probably going to be a decently competitive year. He's picked up Marcus Mariota as his quarterback. On that, and next year be a stronger team. He's got 4.7 pass blockers, so he'll get some dump offs. Mariota's got an interesting card because it reminds me a little bit of Russell Wilson. Got a lot of must runs. Well, not that many, I guess, but he got that must run on 7, and then he's got pretty decent long pass hit on 5, but the interceptions you got to watch out for, and he can flatten it a little bit. This obviously won't be his best card, but look at that 87-yard must run. So if you hit that 7 must run and you land on snake eyes, you're going to the house.
That's right, boy.
We removed that play from the highlights last year. And he has Charles Sims and Tevin Coleman. Both those guys will get a lot of run calls. Look at that. Sims is good guess right or guess wrong with good numbers on the edges. Coleman's not so good guess right, but look at these guess wrong numbers. I picked him up in Somifa, so he's got a lot of short gains. Let's see, is he subject? See, he's got 87 carries, so he's not subject to that low usage running back carry. Although we do have a strict 125% usage for all halfbacks. His receivers are not that great. Jordan Matthews is wonderful. Randall Cobb had a down year. Devontae Adams is probably going to have better years in the future. But Philly Brown is starting for him? I don't know. Maybe I don't have an updated coach file from him. Charles Clay's a decent tight end, but Joe could surprise and make the playoffs. He's got some fives on defense. Telvin Smith, Bradley Roby, Logan Ryan, Jamarcus Lawrence, Benny Logan, Alvin Bailey, excuse me. So yeah, he's got some nice pieces on defense, and I would not be surprised to see that team with Joe's coaching contend for a wild card spot.
He's young too. If this isn't going to be his year, he is building definitely for the future. That's a very young team.
Yeah, and then we got last place, the Phoenix Scorpions. Phoenix has been a consistent playoff team over and over again throughout the years, but he knew it was time to retool. He went for guys like Melvin Gordon and Matt Jones. He got great value in the draft for those guys. Joe Flacco was hurt last year, so he does not have a classic Joe Flacco card. His offensive line's a mess. But he still has those core pieces. Fletcher Cox, Robert Quinn, D Ford should be an upcoming outside linebacker. Patrick Peterson, Rashad Jones, TJ Ward. So he will have one down year and then bounce back. So I agree with you on finishing fourth. But Randy's always been one of those coaches who draft after draft will pick up value. Let's look at Phoenix's draft. He got Matt Jones in round 3. Hold on, let me go back over here. It's getting a starting running back in round 3 is nice. He picked up Philip Dorsett in round 3. Bud Dupree, a young outside linebacker. Melvin Gordon went all the way to round 2. Now, look at the start that guy's had, and to get him in round 2, and then Lael Collins in round 3. Jay Ajayi in round 4. So his offense is going to have a down year this year, but next year he should bounce back and be one of the stronger teams.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things about playing in these draft leagues, again, for those who are not in this league, is that, you can't help but, okay, yeah, you're having a down year this year, but this is so much more than fantasy football. It's crazy how, you're looking at these kids who are playing and, but wait till next year, you see what their kind of card they're going to get. And, Dennis and I had talked before we got on the broadcast, my team has Keenan Allen and Adrian Peterson, and both of them look like they maybe lost to season-ending injuries and either won't get cards, or if they get cards, they're not even going to be of any value at all. So it kind of cuts both ways. Yeah,
and it's it gives you some more flexibility when you want to decide if you want to switch gears and decide to rebuild, and in the middle of the season if you get off to a slow start. But the problem is with guys like that, you don't want to trade Adrian Peterson right now because he's values at one of his lowest points ever.
Exactly.
You're better off just playing it out and holding that guy, and then picking up some of these. You get one or two of these fluke cards for next year, and then Peterson comes back strong the year after that. So, So who's your conference finalist here in the NFC?
Well, okay, so
this is a lot more competitive division than the AFC, which has 2 powerhouse teams. There's some good teams in the NFC, but it's a lot more balanced, I think.
I really struggled with this one here. I've got you, Mr. 30-game winning streak, but where I'm having a problem is obviously I really like River City a great deal. I'm kind of sold on Canton, but Rome just sits there. If ever there was a team that gets in with the wild card and then makes some noise, it's them.
Well, forget the wild card. I'm not going to go undefeated this year. Yeah, it was a nice little humble brag on my part earlier to go for the 33-game winning streak. But this team is, when I came into this year, I said I'm going to do whatever it takes to get Russell Wilson. So I traded away what could have been a really good defense. Let's look at this trade real quick. I traded away Alex Smith, Adrian Peterson, who wound up on your team, Dan Williams, Eric Weddle, my first-round pick this year, to King's Home for Russell Wilson, Matt Forte, and a third-round pick. So I went for the as big of an offer as I can get. Now this offer looks a little bit less one-sided because of Adrian Peterson's injury and the fact that he was able to pick up multiple first-round picks for some of the pieces he got from me. But I didn't care. I didn't want to have a good, excellent defense and still have Alex Smith as my quarterback. I wanted finally to have Russell Wilson on my team in my league and be able to enjoy him. So I'm not expecting to go undefeated this year. I say Rome is going to be in there. I think I would pick him to win the division over me, but it's going to be close. I still have some pieces, and maybe I'll make some trades to shore up some of my holds.
Yep.
I agree with you. Canton looks strong. River City could be in the River City's. Derek Rose has been a consistent conference semifinalist year in and year out. So I will predict Rome and Tokyo in the conference finals, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Rome win the division and me to get knocked out earlier.
Okay. I really like that Rome team, but as I said to you before, or sometime during this podcast, I played Tom Cook, who basically had a team of 0s and 4s and nothing but tackling dummies. And I had to squeak out a win against him where clearly I had more talent. So coaching does have a lot to do with this. So
okay, so let's get a Super Bowl pick. I'm going to pick Ferdinand over Rome. That's my Super Bowl pick. Ferdinand Fighting Otters over the Rome Black Knights.
I am going to, oh, dear me. I hate to say this, but I think I agree. Although I sure like Cave Creek. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to be contrary. And I'm going to say Cave Creek. And I am going to figure out that River City is going to find a way to get in there. So I'm going to go with Cave Creek and beating River City for the final.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and log off and go see what my boys are up to. So thanks, Michael, for hosting this. You do what you want. You can share your screen and talk a little more, or wrap it up.
All right, Dennis, it was a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That sounds good. And anytime you want to do a show, let me know. I'll pop on if I can. If not, feel free to fly solo.
I will do that.
Michael Reeves show.
I feel a little more comfortable doing it now. Dennis, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me in these 3 leagues. I really appreciate it. And have a good evening.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care. Okay, well, there you have it. That was an enjoyable experience. Dennis is a stand-up guy, really, really great, especially to rookie coaches, and it's been an enjoyable time. A nice podcast. And again, if you're new to the sport, I hope that you will take it up. There are plenty of leagues that are available. If you go to Strat-O-Matic.com, there's always leagues that are looking for new players. It's a lot of fun. But this is not Madden by any stretch. It's a card and dice game, a no-frills interface. But, my advice to you is to take a look for Tom Cook and Denis Crowley and look for their videos and watch some of the podcasts they've had, not only about drafts but season previews, but also watch Tom Cook's broadcasts. They're really great, and you'll get a chance to learn more about this game. And I hope that you, like me, will have time to enjoy the game and hopefully join in a league, and maybe we'll see you one day. It's been a pleasure, and we'll try to get back to you maybe at the midpoint of the season and do another update. Good day.